All right. I'm Shang Manson here on the roster with Ms.Dre. I started doing music in like 1990. I started rapping in like 1993, 94, just playing around with it. And then recorded my first song in 96 with the homie who's no longer with us. His name is Cool Verge. He was a legend here in the 90s. So recorded that first song and then made a lot of music with the Desert Dwellers and had stimulated productions with my man Zach Brown and Human Limerick and Nate Faye. And then we made music together until about 2010, and then I stepped away from it until 2025. 15-year hiatus. Yeah. It was just, I was, I wasn't really enjoying the process anymore, and there wasn't a lot of motion. Right? I was late to the internet, and didn't really understand a lot of it. So, just life and other things, kind of pushed me towards not having the motivation. I never stopped writing. I always wrote. But, and then in 2025, my guy, he hit me. He wanted this guy I didn't know hit me and wanted to use I have a old school Mustang, and on wire wheels, and so I call it the Katie Kane Mustang, if you're familiar with Menace Society. But, so he hit me. He found me. He wanted to use the car for a video, and I was like, oh, that's cool. So met him, and I think he looked my name up and found out that I used to rap, and was trying to convince me to come back, and ended up convincing me to come back. Introduced me to Black Sea with RBL Posse, and it's just kind of been been doing it since then. So it might have been like 2024, late 24, because I released the album in 25. So, but yeah, I'm happy I made that decision, and making up what I feel like is the best music I ever made. To make a lot of boom bap music, but it was like a West Coast sounding boom bap, real underground. This time I'm making music that I truly enjoy. I love all types of music, but I'm making music that I like to ride around and listen to. And when I came back to make the music, I was like, I'm gonna make some shit that I like. So. Not that I didn't like the shit I was making before. It was just a different style, of music. And yeah, it's like G-Funk and, real West Coast sounding music and traditional West Coast, right? Not just underground West Coast. And so I think that's probably the biggest difference. I mean, Vegas, in my opinion, has always been slept on from an artist perception, artist perspective. But we've had we've had so many artists throughout the years, almost get there, right? Or have a lot of motion, right? You had, 420, Murderous Click, Doomsday, you had Quadir, you had Player J, you had a lot of, TDK the Great, you had a lot of people making a lot of good music. They just never got to that next level. And then you saw like the Landlord kind of really start to elevate what a Vegas artist could do. And then you saw Dizzy Wright do what Dizzy Wright did, right? And then you got guys like Echo and those guys that have taken it beyond what a normal Vegas artist does. So the biggest change, I don't really know if there's a change in the music, because I think every artist has their own sound. I still don't believe that Vegas has its own unique sound. I think it's being developed now. I'd say, if the sound of Vegas was ever anybody, it was Landlord, but, I think now Vegas has a lot of motion and a lot of very varying artists that are making a lot of different types of music. And I think the city's finally starting to get some of the recognition. Yeah. I think a lot of artists are out for themselves, right? You got to be on before you can put others on, right? And even the artists that are at the higher level aren't 100% on in a way that where they can put others on. I think there could be more love shown. I think Vegas collectively could come together more and and do more together. But there's a lot of varying reasons why that can't and won't happen or doesn't happen, right? Vegas is a place of sides, right? And from there's a lot of different factors in why certain artists don't come together. I think a lot of those walls are starting to break down, though. I think you're starting to see a lot more people work together. and a lot more artists that don't really have a name starting to get a name quicker, right? You know, it's a lot easier now with the internet, right? It doesn't pay the same, but it's a lot easier with the internet to get your face out there, right? So I'm just trying to make music that I enjoy, that I think others will enjoy. I think this new album is a little different than my album I put out last year. So this album is with DB Dallas, who's my ace in this, and if he's on a lot of my videos. He's the one doing a lot of singing, so obstacles for me, I wouldn't say that there's obstacles. I would say that I got to get my weight up, right? So that goes for any artist, right? I think, your goal has to be to get your weight up, make it so they can't ignore you, right? So I don't look at it as obstacles. I look at it as, I got to keep working. I got to stay consistent and stay in their face and, keep dropping dope shit. I just think there's a time and place for certain songs. So, my album came out last year, and then we did the Mappa Crew album with me, Czar Nicholas, DB, Sean Mack, and Joe Fresco. So that was a double album. So we put that out at Thanksgiving and Christmas time. We did a two album drop a month apart. And then now this product that we're going to drop in June. So we definitely have an interest in making sure that we're getting music out there. And then we release a single every month this year so far, right? So we released several singles. And we were going to go the single route all year, but we ended up in the middle of the process of just making music, saying, all these songs kind of are cohesive, they fit well. And so we ended up putting an album together. But the goal is to continue to put out music. But I'm very picky. DB and I are very picky about the quality of music that we're putting out. The sound has to be perfect. So we spend a lot of time with our engineer, Jeremiah Rios, going over and over and over songs and, fixing and fine tuning and really mixing. Everybody's process is different. My process is I want the sound to be of the highest quality. That's for me. It's not that way for everybody. It doesn't have to be that way. It's just my version of the way I want to do music. So, Make America Player Again is just a movement of making it's really making America cool again. Back in the in the 90s and early 2000s, it was just cool. It was you got out to the function, you try to get fly. It's not being a player. It's not just about getting at girls, and all that. It's a state of mind. It's some cool shit, dressing fly, always dressing fly, right? Always getting to the bag, and really just being about some shit, and not being no bum laid up on the couch, right? So that's my version of what a player is, and of course, there's some game and macking up in there too, right? But the Make America Player Again movement is it's done pretty well. It's a cool movement under the Right Way flag with Black Sea, and it's done pretty well. My next song is my best song, right? So I take pride in all the songs I make. I don't know that I have a favorite. We do have one song on this upcoming album. It's called Yeah, where the original beat had a Michael Jackson sample in it, but we took the sample out and had the beat remade. So it's a flip instead of a sample. I think that song is probably the coolest song we have on the album for this album. So I don't know if it's my favorite, but on my last album I liked all the songs, but Is What It Is seemed to go further. The people seem to like that one the best, so I'm gonna listen to the people and what they want, and keep trying to put visuals out to that song. I fell in love with hip hop when I was like 6 years old, when LL Cool J dropped Radio, right? I fell in love, and I've been in love with it forever. So I don't know that there's ever been a moment that I was like, oh, this is what I'm gonna do. I realized I was good at it when I started. Yeah. So I always thought I would always rap. And I don't know if this is what I will do ever as my career. I do it because I love it. It's a stress relief, right? But I was able to build, without, having to be a rapper, right? So, but I do it. So I do it. I say that to say that I do it because I love it. Right? I don't really look at it like, oh, this is it. This is what I'm gonna do. Now I would love it if this is what I did all day, was just create, right? There's been some cool moments along the way, like Snoop Snoop followed me, reposted. That was a dope moment. Some other cats like Matt Barnes, and, you know, when guys like Corrupt like your shit, like it's, you know, it's cool because they from my era, right? So, you know, those kind of moments are dope and like get me excited, right, and make me want to, you know, go harder at it, right? But you know, I think I'm gonna make music for the rest of my life now, especially after walking away for as long as I did. Like, I'm never gonna like stop doing it. I don't really like to participate in like the top 5 or top 10 conversations or the GOAT conversation. Right? I think a lot of people are great in their own rights, and for different reasons, right? But for me, growing up, LL Cool J was it for me as a super young age. But then I, you know, got introduced to NWA and Ice Cube. And when I heard Ice Cube for the first time, man, I was blown away, man. Ice Cube, that whole NWA movement and Ice Cube going solo, and then the Death Row Records era, that was some of the dopest shit ever. But I'm also a huge fan of like Black Thought. I think Black Thought might be the greatest MC of all time from the roots. Just his lyrical ability and the way his cadence and the way he puts words together. But you know, but I also think Andre 3000, you know, I got a bar on a song that I did with my man Tariq Starr and DJ Slim where I say, how y'all got ghosts when Black Thought and 3 Stacks living, right? Like, you know, so I think 3 Stacks is by far one of the greatest talents ever, but I'm a huge fan of Tupac, right? But if I had to say my favorite artist ever, DJ Quick. I think he's one of the most underrated artists and underrated producers of all time. You know, and just a huge fan still to this day of Quick. That's who I listen to the most often. Just got that Bruce Leroy glow, man. You know, like they just got it. And, you know, but authenticity, I think, is a big key when you look at Nipsey and what he was able to do in his short time here. You know, his was about authenticity. Pac brought a level of you know, realness to the music that, you know, kind of just resonated with people in that space and time in that era. You know, and he was so versatile, right? So I think the greats, that just, you know, some people are great at everything they do, and, you know, the music, I don't think is any different. MJ is, you know, Prince, and, you know, them kind of guys, man. It's a level of talent that is undeniable, and a lot of it is work ethic too, man. Them guys, the one thing that people don't talk about enough is how hard they all worked to get to the place that they ended up at, right? They have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of songs. You know, people don't talk enough about the 10,000 hour mark. You don't become a master of your craft until you hit the 10,000 hour mark. You know, and you can feel it when you get to that level. And there's a lot of inconsistency in what a lot of folks do, right? They put something out, they don't really push it, then they'll disappear for 2 or 3 months, and they lose all that motion, right? So, you know, I think those guys, you know, and some of it's a machine too, right, with the labels back then, but those guys worked their ass off, man, to really get where they. So I still think you have some storytellers in this game, right? You know, I mean, you got guys out there that are telling full blown stories, you know. But I think a lot of what, in my opinion, right? And I'm like my man Ab-Soul say all the time, like I throw him out there because, you know, he's been fucking with my music lately, but he says it all the time when he's reviewing music, is he don't know shit. Now I'm gonna say it even more than I don't know a goddamn thing, but my opinion is that the game has changed so much because of the way we consume music, right? A lot of feedback I get from, like, Steve Lobel did a live recently. Steve Lobel is a major factor in the game. And, you know, and a lot of feedback that he's given every artist is, you know, songs 2.5 minutes, 2.5 minutes, 2.5 minutes. 2.5 minutes is not a long time to tell some of these stories, right? So in the way we consume music is you got to get right to the punch. Right, you got a 15-second, 30-second intro. People they're not gonna stick around for that. They're gonna go to the next. Like, I got kids, and I watch my kids on Instagram, and they scroll through so fast. I'm like, how do you even see what you're looking at? So we're consuming information so fast that I don't think people give the music the same amount of attention. We used to get a CD. We used to go to Odyssey Records, right, on Las Vegas Boulevard at midnight on a Monday night, Tuesday morning, get the CD that came out. See all the homies there, put it in the car, and that's the only CD you played for a month or 3 weeks or however long until the next CD came out. You know, and so the way we consume music is so different and it's so readily available. So I read a stat the other day that 180,000 songs come out. 180,000 songs come out every day. Think about the amount of music that is. I know, that's right. So to break through with that happening is even crazier. So so many people are making music, just my opinion, and trying to catch people's attention right away, that the art of storytelling, I think, is becoming lost. But I think the music is also shifting. It's shifting back to what it used to be. Like there's a lot of crazy artists on the West Coast that I've come across, and have met several of them, and there is a lot of talent coming out of the West right now, man. And I think we're getting back to what music used to be. I think I was 18, the first real performance. I rapped like house parties and shit, but like first real performance was at Lorenzi Park, on the big stage of Lorenzi. And I was nervous, man, and I actually forgot my lyrics to one of my verses, and but nobody really knew. Every stage is not created equal. Some stages are big, some stages are tiny, right? Like, so you just gotta be, how to hold the mic, how loud to be in the mic. Is the sound system good? Right? There's a lot of varying factors, right? So, man, I try not to overthink it. I just try to learn like little pieces from every time I perform. It's gonna take some money, that's the first thing. To really do it right. I would say that the music is the fun part and the easy part, right? The music is the easiest part of all this. After you make the music, you got to do something with it. You just put music out for your homeboys, right? Like I don't have an interest in putting out an album for my 10, 15 of my friends, right? And then some of their friends. I want the world to hear the product that this is art for us, right? We're painting a picture and giving it to the world, right? It's one of the most humbling experiences in the world, is letting others into your creative world and giving it to them. So why would you waste it, right? So I would say that pushing what you put out is key, and consistency. Being consistent is the single most important piece, in my opinion, right? The growth that I've seen over the past year, going from 300,000 followers to 33 or whatever the number is now, thousand, is just about being consistent. Some of the shit ain't even like some of the videos I put out. Like, maybe that was kind of whack. I don't really like that. But fuck it, I put it out. They start to recognize my face, and I still ain't shit. I haven't done anything of significance yet, right? We're streaming well. We're getting a lot of views. I've had a couple moments where, almost viral, 300,000-400,000 views here and there, so, that's just coming from consistency, constantly putting something out, right? If you get a good song that catches, push that motherfucker. Like, you don't have to have a new song every week, right? And I think a lot of people, because I was doing it, getting caught up in the numbers, right? Like, oh, what are my Spotify monthly listeners at? Oh, where's my popularity score at? Oh, like, what song stats saying? Like, it's important to understand the numbers so you can know what to tweak. But I would also, the biggest piece of advice is don't buy fake shit. Don't buy fake views. Don't buy fake likes, comments, because that's not going to tell you what's working and what's not. Right, like for me, I want to know what's real, right? I'm not buying no streams, none of that shit, because I want to know what they really feel, so I can do more of that, right? Stay in that lane, and I want it to be organic, And when I say organic, like this term organic gets thrown around a lot, and they think that means organic just means put it out. No, organic means doing it yourself and growing your base, right? And that's boosting posts and running ads and running YouTube campaigns. That's paying for campaigns and boosts on Instagram and TikTok. That's the new street team, right? Back in the day, you used to have a team of people that would go out and put your posters everywhere, put stickers everywhere. Oh, we're doing a show, right? So organic is a term that I think people get fucked up, right? They think like, oh, I just put it out, and if it does something, I did it organically. Nah, that's not what that means. You got to spend the money on the right videos, the right clothes, you gotta look the part, right? Yeah, I mean, that's part of being fly though, right? You gotta be, that's always for me. I gotta stay fly, like, I'm never gonna, I won't go to Walmart looking like a bum, but I always been like that though, so DB Dollars and myself, have an album coming out. We call ourselves Stockton and Malone. So we have an album coming out called Stockton and Malone Cruel Summer. And it features Storm Green here locally, Czar Nicholas, Polyessa the Saint, Anthony Danza from up in Seattle, Bart Oatmeal, and my man, the big homie Black C from RBL Posse. I think that's everybody. Hopefully I didn't miss nobody. But really excited about this project. It's, we have a lot of monstrous production on there from very well-known producers, and You know, and it's a very cohesive album, and I feel like we got something with this one. And you know, the first single drops this Friday, the 29th. The whole album drops June 20th on all platforms. I'll be I'll be putting out a pre-save link, so everybody go pre-save it. Um, you know, try to run your boy up on that. But we're excited about that. With a lot of visuals already done, a lot more visuals still to come for the album. But the plan is to put a massive amount of visuals out for every single song on the project. It's Instagram, TikTok, or Shang Manson, ShangManson. And then on YouTube, it's Shang Manson, same spelling, 030.